Hey, you guys, and welcome to Abundantly Love podcast. I am Gwendolyn Malika Miller. I am the founder of Love Abundantly Ministry. And this podcast, if you are a single woman, and I'm going to be more specific, if you are a disciple of Jesus and you're single or someone who is in love with God and also wondering how to live this single life and waiting for God, you are at the right podcast. I am a single woman, been a disciple of Jesus for 28 years. And I wrote a book about it called 40 Years of Virgin, Why the Wait, Promoting Purity in a World of Promiscuity. And I am going to be talking with you a little bit from the book, but it's all connected about the theme for this particular season. This season is all about denial, walking in denial. Why do I want to talk about that? I want to talk about it because if we're walking in denial, we won't face the truth about who we are. We won't face the truth that we need to face in order for us to get towards healing that will draw us closer and deeper in intimacy with God. Because the whole goal for me as a single woman is to help my sisters and my brothers who may be listening to help you grow deeper in intimacy with God and overcome the roadblocks that's blocking you in getting there. Why? Because that has been my journey. That has been what I've had to go through in order for me to get to the place where I'm at right now in my walk with Jesus, in my walk with my Father, to grow deeper in intimacy with Him, in love with Him. There have been things that I've had to go through, grow through, in order for me to get to this space. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about that as we go along over the next episodes, right? But today I want to lay the foundation for the denial aspect as we walk on this path. Why are we talking about denial? How does this affect us? And where do we want to, how do we get through it? What are we going to do? What are we going to do in order for us to get through it? So, denial, you guys, and if you don't know right now, if I haven't said this, if you haven't listened to my podcast before, I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Tennessee and in Mississippi. And I'm also a pastoral counselor. And I am certified in dialectical behavior therapy, which talks about acceptance a lot and mindfulness practices a lot. And I am also trained in kind of behavior therapy. My background, it helps me to really be able to use the scriptures to work with our cognitive behavior aspects, if that makes sense. So I merged the Bible with NCBT, I merged the Bible with dialectical behavior therapy and all those different things. Now, denial is a form of a defense mechanism that blocks us from really seeing who we are. It's something that's happening in our brains that's clouding over our brains, and it's considered to be irrational thinking patterns that's stopping us from really facing what is true. In the Bible, it talks about in Romans 12, it says, be renewed by the transformation of your mind. Then you can test and prove what God's perfect will is. That's Gwendolyn Malika's version. No, just a little part of NIV version, right? But being transformed by the renewing of our minds. How can I be transformed in the renewing of my mind if I'm not really facing the truth about where my mind is? Let me say it again. I think y'all need to hear that. How can I be transformed by the renewing of my mind if I'm not facing the truth of where my mind is? We can't be. If I'm walking around thinking more highly of myself than I ought to, it's another scripture that talks about that, and being unwilling to really see myself for who I am because of the feelings or the emotions that would come through from that realization, then I won't ever change. Or in another way, if I am ignoring things about my character or ignoring things about the character of someone I'm in a relationship with and choosing to remain in a relationship with this person, even though their character is a particular way, then how is that damaging me? Living in that space of denial. So for me personally, you guys, and this is a really big thing for me to talk about because when I became a disciple years ago, my prayer was God, help me not to be in denial about who I am. Reveal to me my heart. Help me to see myself because I've gone so many years in this mindset of not wanting to see myself because of fear of seeing my weaknesses, walking in pride, not wanting to see flaws, or when people point out things to me, not wanting to see it because it'll make me feel insecure or make me feel beneath them or make me feel uncomfortable. Whatever those emotions are, it'll make me feel those way, that particular way. So I had to ask God, help me to see myself for how you see me. And then at the same time, help me to overcome whatever aspect it is that's hindering me in becoming a person I'm called to be in Jesus, because we're called to be transformed in Jesus' likeness. When we're called to be disciples, we're true Christians of His, because Christian means being Christ like. How can I be Christ like if I'm not understanding my own behavior that's not like Christ? And I'm not willing to face that particular behavior that's not like Christ. And then because of that, how does not seeing the people that's in my life and how their behavior is affecting me and choosing to remain in those relationships and being in toxic relationships because of me not seeing them for who they are, how is that affecting me? Y'all, let me tell you how it has affected me over my years. Now, I want you to go, if you haven't done this yet, all my people that's been following me from the first season, you guys have heard my book before. If you go on Barnes and Nobles or on Amazon, you'll be able to get this book. But I wrote a book again called 40 Years of Virgin, Why the Wait, Promoting Purity in a World of Promiscuity. And I wrote this book for you, my sisters, my baby sisters, my little sisters who are new to Christ, who are trying to figure this thing out, or some of you guys who have been Christians for many years and really trying to understand what it means to be a disciple of Jesus. I wrote this book for you, honestly, because again, I've been a disciple of Jesus for 28 years, living this walk as a single woman, being pure and fighting my temptations and all those things, being honest and learning how to be honest about it, right? Now, in the book, I talk about a relationship that I was in years ago. And in that relationship, I had on blinders because I wanted to be in love. I wanted to be in love. I wanted to have a relationship with someone. But because of that desire, it led me to ignore the signs that I saw in his character and give excuses for it. For example, he was very hot tempered, very angry, easily to anger, right? And he would be abrasive, like he's bracing himself up. But before that, a couple of years, let me just give you some backstory. We were friends before for many years, right? And even in that friendship, he showed me some hostility. And I had to break off that friendship because he told me one time we were on the phone, out of nowhere, I'm sharing with him something I learned from God and been praying about and all those things. And he said, out of nowhere, I'll beat you. I said, what? He said, yeah, I'll beat you. I'm like, hold up, bro. Literally like that, like, hold up, wait a minute. I'm a chick from Arkansas, and I will pick up a brick and bust you aside your head. You don't know me. You got the wrong one. And I was like, look, obviously there's something about me that's leading you to say that. We don't need to talk no more. And I cut the relationship off. I cut off the friendship altogether. And I called some of the brothers in the ministry that he was in, got him some help. And he wrote me a letter apologizing to me. But I didn't talk to him for 2 years. I stopped talking to him. But in between those 2 years, I had started leading an all women's Bible talk group and discipling women in that group. And some of them were coming to me saying to me, hey, I went on a date with so and so, and he was kind of great, In my mind, like, why y'all telling me this? I don't need to know, you know? Another one would come like, he was really encouraging, and he was really cool. I'm like, oh, okay, good to know that. And fast forward, I see him at a singles devotional. And he comes up to me out of nowhere and asks me, hey, my sister's having a birthday party. Would you go on a date with me to this thing? And I said, let me check my calendar. But in my mind, I was thinking, you going on dates with all these other sisters. Why are you coming up to me asking me this question? But so I was like, okay, let me pray about it. And I went back to him and I said, okay, I'm free during that day, but it has to be a double date because I didn't feel comfortable going by myself with him because I didn't know where he was at. He calls me the day of the trip. We were going to go to New Jersey, so he calls me on the day of the birthday party. He tells me the couple that he had gotten backed out, and I'm like, okay. I had already said yes because my yes was my yes, so let me go. So on the way there, he started apologizing to me and telling me about how he saw the wrong in what he said and he's working on himself and all those different things. And I could see the sincerity in it. And I was like, okay. And we get to the party, it was fun and everything like that. So my guard was coming down a little bit. And then on the way back, he stopped and helped someone change their tire and all this other stuff. So I was like, I was seeing some shifts in him. And so fast forward, we started talking on the phone again. And he had mentioned to me that he had been in a relationship before when he had left God and went back to the world. And he was abusive in that relationship. And so I had that in the back of my mind. And then during our conversations, I didn't see any of that as he was building a friendship with me. I didn't see it. I just saw this gentle guy with me. And I started liking him. I opened up my heart and started liking him. I was attracted to him. And by, let's say, this is like 2015, 2016, I don't know what year it was, but that by that January the next year or February next year, he and I shared that we liked each other and we put some boundaries in it and not talk so much or anything like that to protect our hearts because we weren't dating at that time. And then from there, by March, he had contacted some of my best friends, and we went to shrines in New York City, in Harlem, New York City. And as we were walking down the block to go to shrines, he stopped and he was like, "Hey, I've been dating these other sisters, but every time I'm on a date with them, I always think about you. So what do you think about making it just me and you?" And I was like, let me think about it. Come on, let's go. That was that should have been a warning for me, right? But he said, "Hold on, let me give you something to think about." So he pulled out of his coat pocket 10 reasons why Gwen should say yes to being my girlfriend. And he started reading these 10 reasons why I should be his girlfriend, right? And I was like, okay, yes, I'll be your girlfriend. So we go to shrines and my friends are there and it was a big thing, right? It was a really cool thing. But fast forward, his true colors started coming out. And I ignored it. I'm like, oh, he's gonna be okay. Like, okay, he has to learn how to handle himself. But mind you, here's the thing for me. I grew up in an abusive household, and he was triggering me because he reminded me of my dad. And my dad was really angry at times and would shift. He would be so loving one time, then it'd be different. So with him, it was the same thing. He would be loving at one time, then he'll shift to be something else. And I'll never forget one of my friends at the time saw him getting angry with me and arguing with me at the stoplight or something like that. And she was like, "Gwen, I'm worried about you." But I'm in my mind, I'm like, I'm not seeing anything wrong because to me, he's not hitting me, he's not doing anything. And I'm really trying to protect him. Different ministry people were coming up to me asking me about how is the relationship going? How are you doing? And in my mind, I'm like, we're doing fine. We're doing fine. Everything is fine. But they were seeing the signs that it wasn't fine. And I couldn't see it. I couldn't see the manipulation. I couldn't see the emotional abuse. I couldn't see any of those things, the verbal abuse. I can see it. Because to me, I was in denial about his behavior. I was in denial of who he was. And I'll never forget, we were at this singles conference, and I was actually leading the worship, helping to lead worship, because you guys know I'm a singer. And so go and check out my music on Spotify under Malika Miller. Check it out. Um, and I was helping to lead worship, and he would not do the song the way that I wanted to do it. And he embarrassed me, and I just sang the song. And we're in the back, and we were in the back practicing. And I sang the song, and after I left singing the song, I went and the sisters wrapped around me, and I just broke down crying because of how he had just treated me. And when we walked from behind stage, and I went to another sister who was leading the singles ministry at the time, and she said to me, "Gwen, sometimes you gotta let things go. You gotta let people go." so they can figure it out. Because that's what she had to do with her husband, let him go so he could find himself in God and figure it out. And I was like, okay. And I went on stage and I worshiped God and led worship and all that stuff. And it took a lot for me to do that, you know? And I think prior to that, on that Saturday night, he was sitting outside. It was a big party going on, and I love dancing, y'all. It was a big party going on, and he was outside moping on the couch. I'm like, what is going on with him? So I went outside and I sat with him. And he was like, I'm upset because you did this. Da, da, da. And I looked at him like, where is this coming from? I was so confused. Like, what is going on with him? It was just weird. Um, it was just really weird. Sorry, y'all, my phone was just ringing. But it was just really weird. Like, what is going on here? And he just kept wanting to argue with me about pulling something out. I didn't know what the argument was out. And I was like, dude, this is really stupid. I don't really understand. And I'm sitting here with trying to understand for almost an hour or so. And I'm looking back, my friends are coming out like, Gwen, where are you at? And then one of them just came out with her arms crossed and just stood there, looked at me and waited for me to come. And I said, okay, I'm leaving him right here. And let me go over here and check and go and dance. And so I went to the bathroom first and cried and because I was so frustrated. And then from there went into the party and danced a little bit. Then I started feeling guilty because he was out there still moping and whatever. And I left my friends to go and check on him to see how he was doing, right? Such a codependent relationship that I wasn't even aware of, but I didn't even know that that was in my nature to even do that, y'all. But that's how I grew up. That's where I came from and watched that in my household. So it was all unconsciously, I was unconsciously being my mom and he was being my dad. And I'll come back to that in a few minutes, right? But after that, y'all, fast forward, I started praying for God to break us up because I could feel the uneasiness in the relationship. I remember one day going on a date to a couple in the Bronx and him trying to brace himself up to me. And again, like I said earlier, I'm from Arkansas and I don't play that. And him trying to brace himself up to me. I'm like, okay, what you gonna do? Because we're gonna like, I'm a disciple of Jesus, but I ain't gonna let you beat my butt. That ain't gonna happen. You know what I mean? Anyway, he calmed himself down and stepped back, but I prayed for God to break us up because I felt like I couldn't do it. Because I thought that if I broke us up, that it'll hurt him worse. And I felt like I could take it better. Check that. I was not loving myself in that space, thinking that I could handle it better and stand in a toxic relationship because of fear of hurting someone else. I wasn't loving me. Oh my goodness, y'all. How many of you guys can relate to this story? I ain't even finished with the story yet. Let me know if you can relate in your story too. Wait, fast forward, we go to Jacob Javits Center. I'm helping to lead worship at Jacob Javits Center with 4,000 people in the congregation, singing all those different things. And we have planned a date afterwards and stuff. So we go out and we sit down. He had made some sandwiches and everything. And we sit there. He hands me a card and said that it's been 15 months, good 15 months for him. And so, but he wants to break up with me because he needs to get himself together or something like that. I don't remember what the card said, but I read the card, looked at him, about to say something to him about, okay, what's going on? Where's this going? And whatever. He jumps up and walks away. I had no chance to say anything about any of it, right? So I was left with no closure in that time, at that day. So I went from there. I went to my friend's house. Went to one of my friends went out with me to lunch and let me cry and talk about it. And my other friends let me talk about it and whatever. And I felt so foolish. I'm like, God, what's wrong with me? Why did I stay in a relationship like this? And my eyes wasn't open to see it. I'm like, everybody was warning me and trying to tell me, like, Gwen, we're seeing this, we're seeing that, but I couldn't see any of it because I was in denial about what was happening. Fast forward, me and God sat down. And when we sat down, it was like me crying out to God, like saying, like, God, Why did you allow me to, this is what I'm saying, why did you allow me to be in a relationship like that that would hurt me in this way? Notice it was my choice to be in a relationship. I could have stepped out of the relationship, but I wanted to blame God for the hurt that I was feeling in that moment, right? But Jesus came and confronted me in that space. And this is what he said, y'all. First of all, I had to open up to John 21, and y'all go back and read John 21 when he reinstates Peter. And so he reinstated Peter and asking Peter, do you love me more than these? These being whatever these were for Peter. But he was asking me, Gwen, do you love me more than these? These being my desire for the relationship, my desire for money, my desire for a music career, for fame, and all those different things. Do you love me more than these? And I had to be honest. At this point, I had to really decide to face myself. And I said, no, Lord, I don't love you more than these. Help me to love you more than these, God. Ooh, y'all, that broke me. Help me to have to ask the Lord, the God who sent his only son to die for me, and for Jesus to show me how much intensely he loves me by going through everything he went through for me, to have to ask him to help me to love him back. Oh my goodness, that broke me. Whew. After that, he sent me to Ezekiel 16. And in Ezekiel 16, it talks about how Israel was the adulterous woman towards God. Go back and read it for yourself. He was telling me that I had committed emotional adultery against him. I had never slept with my ex or anything like that. But in my mind, I was struggling with impure thoughts. I was imagining us sleeping together. I was imagining all these things. So I had committed adultery already, or impurities in my mind, or sexual morality in my mind. I couldn't focus on Jesus in my prayers sometimes, or when I was reading my Bible, sometimes my mind would drift off to him. It was like distraction. He was telling me how I had committed emotional adultery against him. Then Jesus said, stop living like I'm dead. I'm alive. He said it again. Stop living like I'm dead. I'm alive. And I see you and I feel pain the same way you can feel pain. I feel it. The same way you hurt, I hurt. Stop living like I'm dead. You're hurting me. When you forget that I'm right here, when you forget how much I love you, when you forget and you live in your sins, when you forget, you're hurting me. Again, broken, y'all. Broken. But for me, it was taking off the veils that was on my eyes. Because that's what denial does. It places veils over your mind so you can't really see yourself and you can't really see the person before you. You can't see clearly the situation that's happening that you're in. So Jesus was confronting me to take off those veils. I talk about it again in this book. And I give scriptures about my journey and what happened afterwards, y'all. So go back and look at the book. Now I'm in a space where I want to help other women face the truth about where you are so that you can get to your healing and understand that Jesus is living. He's in the midst of the situations that you are in right now, and you don't think that he's there. He's right there and he sees. But he can't get close to you because he can't be where sin is. He can't. The only way to get closer to him is to wake up, to confess the sins, to speak it, to be broken, to have a contrite heart, like David said, have a contrite heart before him and ask for forgiveness. And he's already going to forgive you because you come into him with contrite heart and repenting of this. And I had to repent. I repented. And I began to pray like, God, I want to be like David. In Psalm 73, at the end, David says, who do I have in heaven on earth besides you, God? There's no one else I desire more than you, God. I want us to all get to that space of God, I desire you more than anything else on this earth, Lord. And reveal to me anything that's in my heart that's stopping me from doing that. So, my sisters, I want to call you to walk with me on this challenge over the next several weeks, to examine yourself, to be really honest about you, and join me on Abundantly Love Circle. Let's have some conversations about it. You can email me at loveabundantlyministry@gmail.com. Email me and let me know your email address, and I'll forward you the Zoom link for Abundantly Love Circle so that you can come and we can meet together and have this open dialogue just to talk. And I'll share some scriptures, but it'll be us really dissecting, being honest, examining who we are, and I'll be walking with you through this. I hope that this is helpful. Follow me on Abundant Love Podcast. Download this, you guys. Follow me on my YouTube at Love Abundantly Ministry. Follow my music on Malika Miller, Melika Miller Music on Spotify, and get my book, 40 Years of Virgin. And I'm coming out with a new book after this one, to the second book, to help you guys in some form of fashion, hopefully, to know how to walk in this walk, to grow deeper in intimacy with God. Love you guys and many blessings. Okay? Be blessed.